Anna Margrethe Molla, Gersted Mallory, was a Norwegian tennis player, naturalized American. She won a record 8 singles titles at the U.S. Championships. She was the first woman to represent Norway at the Olympics. Although she had won a bronze medal in singles for Norway in the 1912 Summer Olympics in Stockholm, and was the many-time champion of her homeland, Mallory was relatively unknown when she arrived in New York City to begin work as a masseuse in 1915. She entered the U.S. Indoor Championships that year unheralded and beat Marie Wagner 6-4, which was the first of her 5 singles titles at that tournament. She also won the singles title in Cincinnati in 1915. Mallory had less in the way of stroke equipment than most tennis champions. But the sturdy, Norwegian-born woman, the daughter of an army officer, was a fierce competitor, running with limitless endurance. Robert "Bob" Kelleher, a former president of the United States Tennis Association (USTA) and a ball boy during Mallory's era, once said, "She looked and acted tough when she was on the court hitting tennis balls. She walked around in a manner that said you'd better look out or she'd deck you." She was an indomitable scrambler and runner. She was a fighter. She was a player of the old school. She held that a woman could not sustain a volleying attack in a long match. "I do not know a single girl who can play the net game." Therefore, she relied on her baseline game, consisting of strong forehand attacks and a ceaseless defense that wore down her opponents. She took the ball on the rise and drove it from corner to corner to keep her opponent on the constant run. Her quick returns made her passing shots extremely effective. She once said, "I find that the girls generally do not hit the ball as hard as they should. I believe in always hitting the ball with all my might, but there seems to be a disposition to just get it over in many girls whom I have played. I do not call this tennis." Her second-round match with Suzanne Lindgren at the 1921 U.S. National Championships brought Mallory her greatest celebrity. Before the match, Bill Tilden advised Mallory to hit the cover off the ball. Once the match began, Mallory attacked with a vengeance and was ahead 2-0, 40-0 when Lindgren began to cough. Mallory won the first set 6-2 and was up 40-0 on Lindgren's serve in the first game of the second set when Lindgren began to weep and walked to the umpire's stand and informed the official that she was ill and could not continue. After the match, the USTA accused Lindgren of feigning illness. The French Tennis Federation (FTF) exonerated Lindgren and accepted her testimony and a doctor's that she had been ill. However, Albert D. Joannis, vice president of the FTF, who accompanied Lindgren during her trip to the United States, quit his post in protest of the FTF's conclusion. He claimed that Lindgren was perfectly fit during the match and that she was defeated by a player who on that date showed a better brand of tennis. Lindgren avenged the loss by defeating Mallory 6-2, 6-0 in 26 minutes in the 1922 Wimbledon final, the shortest final in a Grand Slam tournament on record. Lindgren reportedly said to Mallory after the match, "Now, Mrs. Mallory, I have proved to you today what I could have done to you in New York last year," to which Mallory replied, "Mademoiselle Lindgren, you have done to me today what I did to you in New York last year. You have beaten me." However, Kathleen McCain-Gottfried has said that Lindgren denied this exchange. Citation needed. Lindgren claimed that she merely said thank you to Mallory and coughed very suggestively behind an uplifted hand. This was to remind Mallory that she, Lindgren, had indeed had a whooping cough in their New York match the previous year. The two played for the last time that summer in Nice, France, with Lindgren winning 6-0, 6-0. This completed the head-to-head rivalry between the players, with Lindgren winning their first match at the 1921 World Hardcourt Championships 6-3, 6-2, after which Mallory said about Lindgren, "She is just the steadiest player that ever was. She just sent back at me whatever I sent at her and waited for me to make a fault. And her returns often enough were harder than the shots I sent up to her." Mallory won the singles title at the U.S. Championships a record 8 times in 15 attempts, with the last of her titles occurring at age 42 in 1926. Her worst finish there was a quarterfinal loss in 1927 at age 43. In 1926, Mallory hit one of the heights of her career when she came back from 0-4 in the third set of the final against Elizabeth Ryan, saving a match point and winning her 8th championship. Her farewell to the U.S. Championships was as a 45-year-old semi-finalist in 1929, losing to Helen Wills Moody 6-0, 6-0 after having defeated the first foreign-seeded player Betty Neufeld in the quarterfinal. Mallory is the only woman other than Chris Evert to have won the U.S. Championships 4 consecutive times. She died on November 22, 1959, aged 75, in Stockholm, Sweden. According to A. Wallace Myers of the Daily Telegraph and the Daily Mail, Mallory was ranked in the world top 10 from 1921, when the rankings for women began, through 1927, reaching a career high of World No. 2 in those rankings in 1921 and 1922. She was ranked in the U.S. top 10 13 consecutive years from 1915 through 1928, no rankings were issued in 1917, and was top-ranked from 1915 through 1922, and in 1926. Mallory was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in 1958. In 1916, she co-authored a book, Tennis for Women with Samuel Crowther. I would love to end here and continued in my next episode. If you enjoyed this episode, kindly subscribe to my channel and don't forget to leave your comments.